Hello, 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 and welcome to Pop Culture Therapy. I'm Cruellica Kain, and sadly I'm still alone. I know this shtick will probably get old soon, but until Kaiju's in the other room playing God of War, but until Abbott Nebula joins me again, I will be doing these Pop Culture Therapy solo, so hopefully you're not sick of me yet. I'll try to keep it fun, lively, add new elements, but I figured I would finish out this trilogy of podcasts that I've started with, the first being my favorite horror movies of 2022, not necessarily favorite, but many of the ones that I've seen, my most anticipated horror movies of 2023 was the next one, and then this one will be the final of the anticipated videos of my most anticipated movies, non-horror movies of 2023. So this list will have Marvel, it will have a whole bunch of things. They'll probably make you wonder if I have like split personality, or if I just have a very obscure interest in a lot of different weird movies. Some of these movies on here, I know wholeheartedly Kaiju will not be watching with me, so I will be watching them solo, that's fine, or maybe I can find ways to guilt him. That's going to be my goal, but most likely I'll watch some of these by myself. But to start off, of all the movies I am excited to see that are non-horror movies actually begins next month. And that first one is going to be Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. So, as you probably have gathered from past pop culture therapies or just in general, I actually am a Marvel Studios fan. I have to admit, I'm actually a Marvel fan. I've read a lot of the X-Men comics. One of my favorites comic series with an X-Men is Age of Apocalypse, which they did the Apocalypse story in general, not Age. Very, very dirty. I've primarily stuck with the X-Men series, Excalibur, X-Force, things like that when I was a huge fan of X-Men or Marvel series. But these movies have given me a new appreciation for characters that I actually didn't know a lot about, or I honestly didn't like from any of the comics I had read, be it the Hulk, Iron Man. I did not like classic Hulk and Iron Man. I loved Daredevil when I read those comics, things like that, so I'm a little disappointed that we've never gotten an actual movie for Daredevil done correctly. I say that because we do have the Ben Affleck Daredevil, but we don't have the ones that are done correctly, because I think a movie with Charlie Cox, more than just a 2-minute at most scene with him in Spider-Man, was just not enough to whet my appetite. But enough said about going in that circle to get to where I am now. I am excited about this third installment because it's almost going to be like a more extended family affair. We're going to have Ant-Man and Wasp, so we'll have those two characters, but we're also going to have Paul Rudd's in-movie daughter. So Scott Lang's daughter is also going to be going with them. So we're going to learn a little bit more what happened with Michelle Pfeiffer's character when she was in the quantum realm. We'll get to see all the other elements of the quantum realm, and then we get a little bit more about Jonathan Majors' character that we were briefly introduced to in Loki, for now being Kang the Conqueror. So it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to set all of that up into this new phase of Marvel, so to speak. So I'm super excited. I think all the people in the movie will do a fantastic job. They've done great jobs in the previous films, so I'm excited to see where it comes from. Next on my list, and like I promised, I'm going to be doing non-horror movies. This is one of those movies that I will say I'll most likely watch on my own, just because, well, Kaiju enjoyed the first one, being that James Gunn has decided to scrap the current DCEU, there's really not going to be much of a conclusion, especially also with The Rock being unwilling, supposedly, this is allegedly, being unwilling to be the true villain that Black Adam was supposed to be, especially in the Shazam or Captain Marvel universe, is seeing Shazam Fury of the Gods. Now, you probably have heard, if you haven't heard, I'm very thankful for you, Kaiju's arguments in the past about Shazam being what he says to become Captain Marvel. But the challenge with having a Captain Marvel is there's one in DC and there's one in Marvel. Obviously, Marvel is going to win, so that's why Shazam is called as he is. But I will look forward to it because I enjoyed the first Shazam movie, so I would like to see what they do with it. The next movie that is really forcing me to watch all the prequels is John Wick Chapter 4. We are so far behind the game. All of our friends have been begging us to watch all of the John Wick movies, and I'm finally going to do so, with or without Kaiju, just because I have heard so much about the movies, thankfully not to the degree that they're spoiled, but to the degree of wanting to see them. And I'm actually a huge fan of Keanu Reeves, so the reason why we haven't watched any of the previous installments yet is because we're so busy. There's so many movies coming out, and it's hard to keep up with everything. But now that we're finally getting to Chapter 4, and it's just sparking my interest even more because Keanu Reeves is getting this like revival as a character, or as an actor, I mean. I definitely want to take advantage of it. But the next movie I definitely will be seeing, and I'll be forcing Kaiju to go with me, even though he has absolutely no interest, is Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves. So I am a huge D&D fan. I actually played as a dark druid, which I know not necessarily always makes sense, but I had such a great druid character, played her for a number of years, got her so far leveled up that she had jinns and succubi as her creatures that would go and attack others. It was so much fun. We played the 3.5. I know I'm so far behind on the levels since there's 5, but I still love the 3.5 setup for D&D. And I kick myself every day for having gotten rid of all the books I had. We just had no room for them. But now I'll have to get them all back. Hopefully I can get them for a decent price, because my goal in this year is to start another D&D campaign. So having Chris Pine, Michelle Rodriguez, and so many others coming in for this D&D movie, I am so down to see it. If Kaiju is unwilling to see it, I'll go see it with Silver Quill, because he's always down to see a bad movie with me. And I say that'll be a bad movie not because it's a bad thing, but it's not going to be an Oscar-worthy film. So, one of those movies that is a little bit different than the norm that I actually want to see is Chevalier. And it's actually about a real life person, a French Caribbean violinist named Chevalier de Saint-Georges. And it's a biodrama done by the Atlanta writer Stephanie Robinson. And it's going to have a lot of great people in the movie. You're going to have Kelvin Harrison, Samara Weaving, Minnie Driver playing in this film that's going to be talking about something that's very fascinating to me. And it's going to be talking about music, which I love. That's why I love the movie Amadeus. But it also is going to be giving a perspective that a lot of people don't know about some of these great artists, be it musical or writing artists or literal artists with drawing. Is there's so much more that we can learn. And it's so sad when you think about the racism that's still going on today, but even then. And some people not even knowing that these individuals like Chevalier, or you could even say Dumas, who wrote The Count of Monte Cristo, both of them being black or not African because they're both French, but being black creatives in a time where people were much more racist than we are now. Probably not by much, sadly, because our culture is terrible in America, but not unilaterally, but some people. But it's so fascinating. It's going to be so exciting to see something about another creative that people don't know enough about. So I will support the movie, even if it is Oscar bait. Hopefully it's not. But I will support the movie because it's going to be fascinating to learn about somebody who created something beautiful, and people don't know enough about this person or what they went through or anything like that. Next movie on the list that I'm going to see doesn't mean I'm excited for it, but I guess it's anticipation because maybe I want to see how bad it will be, and that's going to be the Super Mario Brothers movie. I 100% am a huge Super Mario Brothers fan. I've played not all of the games. I wish I could say I've played all the games, but I've played so many of them. As I'm an older individual, so to speak, I remember when the first Super Mario Brothers came out on Nintendo. I actually didn't have a Nintendo at that time, but the game cartridge worked on my Atari, so I was able to play the Nintendo game. This is back in the day where you could play game cartridges on different systems in the early days, and they would work. But I am super excited to see if this movie is good. If it's not good, I will just look forward to seeing what potential dumpster fire comes from it. Now, my anticipation or lack thereof is not because of Chris Pratt. Chris Pratt, that's fine. You're going to put a Hollywood actor into the role because you want to sell tickets. I think any of us, no matter how much we like it or not, we can complain all we want, but it's not going to sell tickets otherwise. Do I think it would have been awesome to have the voice actor who's been doing Mario's voice for as many years as Mario has had any kind of vocaling, even if it's just, "It's a me, Mario." I think it would be awesome. But realistically, they're not going to do that as much as we want them to. But who knows? It could be an incredible movie as long as it's better than the live action one, which I didn't see until I was an adult, and kind of makes me surprised because I should have seen it as a kid. But as long as it's better than that, I think we should be fine. With that said, the next movie on my list, and like I'm promising, I'm not going through horror movies. The next one is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. So I'm excited to see how they're going to wrap up this Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy. And I say that because James Gunn obviously is going over to Warner to be working on their extended universe for the DC Comics characters. So this is going to be the final installment. And admittedly, some of the characters are going to be bowing out at this point because apparently Dave Bautista's character, he said this will be the last time, supposedly, Obviously, paychecks may change that, but this will be the last time that he will be appearing in a Marvel cinematic movie. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes on. I don't have much of a plot except for it saying that we're going to learn a little bit more about origin stories and things like that. But no matter what, I definitely am going to see it, because if the movie is terrible, at least the music will be awesome. So with that said, the next movie that I will watch, and as I'd mentioned in my anticipated horror movies video or pop culture therapy, I support franchises that I really love when they have good movies, when they have bad movies, and even if they seemingly overstay their welcome, I still support them. And sometimes I regret that decision, and sometimes I don't. The reason I say that is because the next movie on my list that I'm excited to see is Fast X, which is the 10th installment of the Fast and the Furious franchise. And I understand that I'll probably be hearing the word family about 45 to 50 times throughout the runtime of the movie, but I still love the movie. I like Vin Diesel's character in the movie. Same thing with Michelle Rodriguez, Tyrese Gibson, Ludacris, but back in the day we just called him Luda. And then we're going to have Charlize Theron. The only thing I'm not sure about is if we're going to have The Rock or Dwayne Johnson appear again, because of all of that supposed behind the scenes strife that was going on with him. I don't know if he'll be returning, but most of the main cast will, including the Sung Kang and Jason Statham, and supposedly Gal Gadot. Don't know if that's true, but I'll definitely be down and excited to look for it. Next movie I want to see, because I'm a huge Disney fan, and having seen this movie when it came out, having owned the VHS, the DVD, the Blu-ray, the 4K when it eventually comes out, of The Little Mermaid, I'm going to support this new adaptation. I know the live action Disney movies have burned us all many, many times, but kind of like anyone else with Stockholm Syndrome, I keep on going back for more. It's a terrible experience for Stockholm Syndrome. I actually lived it in real life, but nevertheless, I don't appreciate a lot of people's arguments about the film, because we have Halle Bailey, who is a black young woman playing Ariel. But yes, Ariel was white in the animated version. But in all honesty, one, it was animated, and two, she's a fish woman. Yes, she's half human, like from the top half up, but if you're going to argue race about fish people, then you have more problems in your world than a bloody movie. So I am excited to see it, because I do think, and I've been thinking this since the 80s when I was a little girl, that even though they all look like me, we need more diversity in the Disney princesses. And if that comes through the opportunity of having our now second Disney princess coming from a live action adaptation of Ariel, I will take it, because the last Disney princess that we had that was black was from Princess and the Frog. And we have very little diversity. And yes, being a white person, I don't have much of a pedestal to stand on, because most of the characters have looked like me in that in that way, but I don't want every character to look at me because look like me, because that's not what brings me in, and that's never what brought me in to watch something. Because I'm a huge fan of Ninja Turtles. They're anthropomorphic talking turtles. Yes, they're mutated and things like that, but it wasn't the fact that they look like me, because I am not a green turtle. So I think people's arguments need to grow up, and we just need to give everybody a chance. And if it gets somebody else another step up to do something more and take another look at it, 100% we should all be supporting it. And that goes along the lines of my next movie that I am beyond excited to see, and hopefully there will not be any more delays, is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. So, if you saw the other Into the Spider-Verse film with Spider-Man that had Miles Morales, you got a great film. And I personally think that we technically should have a live action version of Miles Morales. Same thing with Miguel O'Hara, who was from the 2099 universe for Spider-Man. So we're going to get a lot of different aspects. We're going to have Miles Morales again as the main character of this, and then we're going to have Spider-Gwen, or Gwen Stacy, and then just like the other movie, we're going to have different spider versions of Spider-Man or Spider-Woman or anything like that. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do this. I hope they don't make the mistake of trying to throw too many characters at you, where it loses focus and you don't have anyone to grasp onto, because it is a very challenging situation that you have to balance when it comes to something like that. Because that was even the challenge with No Way Home. It was great to have Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans in the movie. Same thing with having a variety of the different villains. And they balanced it well as also. But the fear is, if you have too many characters, just to have those characters in and say, see, we have this person, we have that person, we have this person, you lose focus and you don't enjoy it as much. So I hope they don't lose sight of what they did in the first one. Now, the next movie that I am not anticipated to see, but I'm going to mention it only because it was a terrible looking trailer, and if any of you are anticipated to see it, at least you know it's going to be out this year, and that's the newest Transformers movie. I can guarantee you I'm not going to see it, and that is due to multiple reasons, because I have not seen many of the other sequels that have come out after the first 4, and they haven't done anything cool with Starscream. So if you're not going to have anything cool with Starscream, or now that's going to be bringing in the Beast Wars, if I'm going to watch the Beast Wars, I'll just enjoy the original cartoon that came out back in the day. With that said, the next movie I really am excited to see is Elementals. So this is another Disney movie that is going to be taking place. It's set in a world where the 4 elements, earth, air, fire, and water, coexist. And kind of looking at the differences between those elements, I think of it as kind of like a version of Inside Out in a way, because obviously you're probably going to have all of the elements have like an emotional aspect that correlates with them. So I'm excited, but I don't know what it will show. With that said, the next movie that I will definitely be watching, and I'm excited to see because hopefully it rewrites the Crystal Skull is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. So it doesn't look like his son, Shia LaBeouf, will be in this movie. However, we're going to get his supposed goddaughter, so we'll see how that relationship takes place. And we'll also have some new actors joining, and we'll have one really awesome actor returning. So we're going to have Mads Mikkelsen, Antonio Banderas, coming in to help star in the film. Plus, John Rhys Davies is returning to this movie. So I'm super excited to see what happens. We're now going to have an 80-year-old man playing a hero. So we'll see what comes from it. Next movie that I will be seeing, probably alone, unless I can guilt Kaiju to go in to see it with me, is going to be Barbie. Now, to be fair, I had tons of Barbies as a kid, had the Ken dolls, had all the other versions. So I was a Barbie girl when I was young. And I gothed them out. I did many things. Actually, my best friend in the whole wide world, her name is Jessica. She'll probably never see this. But she actually did, for one of her college photography projects, she actually did an entire photography collage of my and her Barbie dolls that we kept from when we were kids, that we gothed them out, we dyed them, we painted them, we changed their figures, we added new clothes that we made and things like that. So it was so cool to see the creativity. But being a girl, and not necessarily a girl, I think that's unfair, but being a person who did enjoy Barbie when I was young, I am looking forward to seeing it. So it will be a bad movie. It is going to be terrible. I have no doubt about it, but I am looking to see it. The next movie that comes out around the same time is going to be Oppenheimer. Now, I once upon a time was a huge Christopher Nolan stan, and then after a while, some of his movies just didn't grip me as they did in the past. Memento was good. Oh God, I can't even remember all the movies I really enjoy that I own, but I haven't been like a huge fan of a few of his most recent films. However, being that my grandfather was, sadly he passed, God, it's going to be 15 years now. He was a World War II vet. And so I learned a lot about World War II just from sitting at his knee, even as an adult prior to his passing, because it's something that it's so far out of my worldview, and it gets further and further out of everybody's worldview, because it really is history now. Most, if not all, there's just a very small population left of World War II vets that fought. And so now everything we get is really going to be from books more so than from people who lived it. But with that said, the newest movie that's coming out is called Oppenheimer. And I learned a lot about him in college and even prior to that. And he is one of the people that created something that essentially could destroy the world. And seeing what he had to go through for that, I think, is going to be fascinating. I believe he is going to be played by Cillian Murphy, which I think Cillian Murphy is another one of those fantastic actors that has not always received the recognition that he truly deserves. So I am looking forward to seeing the movie. The next movie I want to see, and that I'm excited to see, is going to be The Marvels. Now, to be fair, the reason why I'm excited for The Marvels is because, one, we get to see Iman Vellani's big screen debut as Miss Marvel, as well as Teyonah Parris's big screen debut as Monica Rambeau as an adult, and hopefully her taking over that helm as Captain Marvel. But for me, my introduction to Captain Marvel was in the X-Men universe when Rogue inadvertently put her into a coma and stole all of her powers. And so selfishly, and at least I'm not alone in my selfishness, this would be a fantastic way of introducing some of the extended Marvel universe now that Fox properties like X-Men has come home, to introduce even slightly some of the X-Men characters. I know it won't happen. I'm well aware that my and probably a few other people's thoughts of Brie Larson exiting out of the Captain Marvel role herself will be due to something not Rogue related, which makes me very sad, because as much as I loved the original 2 X-Men movies with Rogue, third one not so much, they really did take away a lot of what made Rogue awesome. Because yes, she did still steal other people's powers, but because she stole so much of Captain Marvel's powers that they never went away. So even though she still took on other powers, she was such an enhanced mutant, or such an enhanced hero, because she had her powers along with Captain Marvel. So that's why she could fly. She could do so much more than what she did in the original series. So selfishly, that's where I'm going with it. But nevertheless, while I'm not a huge fan of Brie Larson outside of Scott Pilgrim, because I thought she was fantastic in that movie, she does a good job. And so overall, I am very excited to see that movie just in general. Next movie that I just learned about, so I'm excited to see what it is, but being that the cinematic universe is going away, I don't know if this is part of the new cinematic universe or if it's a leftover, and that's the movie Blue Beetle. So I just learned about this movie, so I don't know much about it. I don't know if it's going to be animated or what have you, but I love the idea of Blue Beetle because it's a more modern Blue Beetle, who plays Jaime Reyes as one of the main Latino characters. And as I mentioned with regards to Ariel earlier, we don't have as much diversity in so many different things that it's so exciting. Like, even for Miss Marvel, if you have not gotten a chance to see the short series that was on Disney Plus, and hopefully you can find a way to see it, I won't explain the different methods, but she did a fantastic job of giving us something new that I even learned a lot. So not only did I enjoy the series, but I learned so much about it. And every time I've seen stuff with Jaime for Blue Beetle, because he does add tidbits of his culture, being Latino and being, at least from a couple of the ones I've seen, being Mexican, it was so cool. So I'd love to see what they do with this as well, because that's how we learn more. Now, another movie I love to see, because I love the books, I've loved what's been done with the series, is going to be A Haunting in Venice, which is another Kenneth Branagh movie for Hercule Poirot, on the Agatha Christie series. So this one is based on Agatha Christie's Halloween Party, and it will be including a whole brand new cast of characters, which makes sense because if you've seen Death on the Nile, many of those characters have went their separate ways. But I'm excited to see it because I think that Kenneth Branagh is a fantastic Poirot. He really lives that character. And so saying something for Agatha Christie, I am very excited for. So with that said, I don't have too many other movies. I am not a huge fan of the Dune series, having been burned by the original Dune movies. So I have not seen the previous one, so I don't really anticipate seeing the second one, but I know many people are excited about it. I'm not excited about the new Hunger Games film that is coming out because it's set in the future, so don't know much about what it's going to be. There's another Willy Wonka movie coming out that's starring Timothy Chalamet in December. So this one I'm not too sure about because it's going to be a musical fantasy. Admittedly, the first one, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, technically that was a musical as well. But I don't think anybody can top that. But you never know. That movie could be really good. We do have Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom coming out at the end of the year. I honestly am not super excited to see that because once again, with DCEU going away, I will see it because like Shazam, I saw the first one, really enjoyed it. So I'm going to see this one since I enjoyed the first one. But it'll most likely, once again, be a solo thing unless I can guilt kaiju into seeing it with me. But other than that, there's a lot of movies that are coming out this year. And I haven't given a full list of all the movies that I'm excited to see because there's hundreds that always come out. And there's always a bunch that really they don't talk about at the beginning of the year, but they kind of like seed them in through the year. So I imagine there's going to be 10, 20 other movies that I'm going to be like, oh my God, I must see this. But overall, I think 2023 is going to be another great year for movies, both horror and not. I'm so happy that people are feeling a lot more comfortable as artists, as viewers, and then with all of these streaming services that we have an opportunity to see so many more movies than we did during the dark ages of 2022 or 2020 and 2021. But overall, as I mentioned in the last Pop Culture Therapy, let me know some of the movies that you're excited to see. Even if you mentioned the last one, share in the comments here. I would love to know if there's movies that I missed. I know for sure there are other horror movies that I missed from the last one, and I didn't want to mention them here. But we'll see if they all officially come out. But overall, let me know your thoughts, and hopefully we'll talk to you soon. Bye!